So in this video, we're going to just briefly discuss the zero product property and talk about some of the vocabulary that will be showing up in the next set of videos. So we're going to be using factor, factors, and product quite a bit. And we want to make sure that we know what these mean. So if I tell you to factor 8, factor in this context is being used as a verb. And what you're being asked to do is write 8 as a product or a multiplication. So if I say factor 8, there's a lot of ways I could factor 8, all of which would be correct. I could say 1 times 8. That is a factorization of the number 8. I could factor 8 by doing -1 times -8, which is also equal to 8. I could do 2 times 4. -2 times -4 is a factorization of 8. And it's not necessarily the case that it has to be a nice factorization. I could write 8 as a product by doing 8/5 times 5. That's also equal to 8. So when I say factor 8, the word factor used in this context is a verb. And it's telling you to write the number or the algebraic expression as a product or as a multiplication. When you write something as a product, so let's say I do 2 times 4 equals 8. So I factored 8 into 2 times 4. The individual components in the multiplication are called factors. So 2 is a factor and 4 is a factor. So what you can see is that the word factor is being used 2 different ways. Here it's being used as a noun, and when it's used as a noun, 2 is a factor of 8. That means that 2 is one of the pieces in the product or the multiplication that I made to make an 8. So factor as a verb means write the thing as a multiplication. Factor or factors are the individual pieces that are there in the multiplication. 8 could be written as 2 times 2 times 2. And each of these is a factor of 8. And I have factored 8 by writing it as a product or a multiplication. So the zero product property is a property that says, hey, if you have a product, zero product property, or zero factor property, if you have a product, in other words, if you have a multiplication, this is a product right here, because it's a multiplication, 2 letters touching means multiply. So the zero product property says if you have a multiplication that equals 0, then one of these 2 things must be 0. Either A is 0 or B is 0, because 0 times B is equal to 0, or A times 0 equals 0. So zero product property is simply the property that says if you have a product of algebraic expressions and that product is 0, then one of the 2 expressions has to be 0.